In GLAD, we have what we call our 7 hip pocket strategies, which are key practices that can be used with any instruction and with little or no prep for the teacher and almost no materials. They are the 10-2 discussions, where we have students turn and talk with a neighbor, processing the information that they're hearing from their teacher, giving them a chance and opportunities to even process that information within their primary language, which increases their comprehensibility. We have them say it with me, repeat the vocabulary, repeat the concepts back after they hear them with using a very low effective filter. TPR, which we know is a proven language development strategy, using our posters to prove it and cite sources, sketching, adding sketches and visual representations to our content, to our input charts, and also very important is color coding, making sure that we're chunking up information and then drawing connections across the content. All right, class, today we're going to continue learning about what is now the regions of the United States. We're going to review what we learned yesterday in the desert region. Some of you have review cards in your possession, and you've shared them with the people around you, so you should know what words you have. When you hear me say your card on the map, hop up and go ahead and put it up here to highlight that important vocabulary. Right, so yesterday we learned about the western coast of the United States and where we live here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And off of our coast we have the Pacific Ocean. And all the way across the continent on the other edge, the eastern shore of the United States with the Atlantic Ocean. And scattered throughout our content, there were many vast differences. We have the Great Lakes region. We have the longest river in the United States called the Mississippi River. And another important river called the Rio Grande. That borders the region we're going to talk about today. We have scattered throughout our country some various mountain regions. Say them with me. The Sierra Nevada Mountains, the Rocky Mountains, the Cascade Mountains, and the Appalachian, just to name a few. So now we're going to talk about the desert region. The desert region, say it with me because this is all review. The desert region. The desert region. Some important landforms of the desert region are the mesas. Remember the mesas? Rivers. The soil is sand and clay. The weather, the climate is, remember, very dry with extreme temperatures. Remember those extreme temperatures? Mm-hmm. Yes. And very little rain, precipitation. Say that word with me. Precipitation. Growing in this harsh climate are cacti. We talked about the big, tall Seguro cactus. Everyone make your Seguro cactus. The bushes and grasses that live there that are growing in the desert. And the animals that are able to survive in this climate, the coyote, rabbits, reptiles. Excellent. So now we're going to add on to our understanding of the United States regions, and we're going to add to it the Pacific Northwest region. The Pacific Northwest region is one of my favorites. My mom actually was born and raised up here, so I've gotten to go and spend a lot of time in this region. So it's one of the regions besides our own that I know the most about. Here up in the Pacific Northwest, we have a lot. So the landforms are, there are rivers, there is lots of coastline, and something very scary, volcanoes. There are several volcanoes surrounding this area, scattered throughout this area of the Pacific Northwest. Turn and tell your partner 3 of the landforms that we have up in the Pacific Northwest.
And coastal.
One of the reasons why I love this area is how beautiful it is. It is packed. It was packed with some areas with trees and ferns and bushes. This is a picture of what it looks like there in the Pacific Northwest. When you go for walks there, it's beautiful. There is also a river that cuts through this area. Right here, it starts in Idaho, and it empties into the Pacific Ocean called the Columbia River. That borders our region. There are 4 different mountain ranges. There's Olympic, out here on this peninsula here, there's the Olympic mountain range, there's the Cascade, the Rocky Mountains come up, and also the Sierra Nevada mountains. This area, the climate, it has lots of rain, which is how they get this beautiful lush forest. So we'll write heavy rain. What was our high academic word for rain? Precipitation. It's also very wet and cool. Even when you go up in there in the summertime, it can be very cool. The plants, because it is so packed with beautiful lush forests, there are also lots of plants and animals that grow there. This is called the red cedar. It's one of the largest trees in the world. It can grow to be 200 feet tall. And it can live for 1,000 years.
What? I can't even live that. That's
Oh, I'll put this over in the land part, because over here we have the whales that lives out. Isn't it called the killer whale's one of its name, but it's also called the orca. I prefer the orca. I feel like that's a kinder, nicer name. The orca whale lives out there. And like I mentioned, there's lots of rivers there, and those rivers are teeming with this fish called salmon.
Salmon! I've never eaten it. I have some. I like fish.
So some of the plants that are growing are berries, ferns, red cedar, and some of the animals. Remember our little bunny rabbit for animals? Are orcas, salmon. There's also deers and owls and all those things also. Okay, now I want you to think about the pictures you've seen and your understanding of the plants and animals that have lived here in the Pacific Northwest, and compare that with this desert region that we learned about yesterday. Go ahead and turn and talk.
There's no water. There's way
This is called the input chart, or graphic organizer input chart to be more specific. And we use it to create an overview for students. And we're going to use this in our Native American unit to talk about the natives that lived in these different regions. And continue on with teaching them about the plains and the northeast region also. And then focusing in, another chart will focus in on a village in the southeast region. So please turn and talk with your teammates and about how you could use this strategy in your own classrooms.